set, hut, hut.
As the hills of West Virginia resound with the sound of Golden Blue football.
Almost heaven, West Virginia.
Now let's bring on the Mountaineers. Goes around about the 50 to 10 to 5. A touchdown, West Virginia. He did it.
He did it. Patrick White. Touchdown, Tay Von Austin.
The Don Nehlen's Mountaineers enjoy walking in where angels fear to tread.
I think you think that these guys are going to fall over dead for you. Well, I got news for you. They're going to punch you right in the mouth. It's Mountaineer pride.
Nothing cheap, nothing dirty, but West Virginia football. West Virginia football.
Leave no doubt tonight. They shouldn't have played the old Golden Blue. Not this night.
They've done it. They've done it. A perfect season. And the Mountaineers, for the first time in history, undefeated and untied.
Don Nehlen and his Mountaineers, for the second time, have finished a regular season with an unblemished mark.
Ain't no stopping
The Golden Blue.
It is a great night to be a Mountaineer wherever you may be.
What's going on, Mountaineer Nation? Welcome back into the Country Roads webcast for January 6th live stream here for a transfer portal update, which is also going to be a bit of a coaching staff update as well. Been a big slew of news that came out for Mountaineer Nation today, be it players committing from the portal, be it offers going out, visits getting scheduled. We're going to cover all those in the transfer portion. And then, of course, we've had more official announcements of coaches that we've been waiting on. And then we've got another reported addition coming on to the staff. And it's one that we kind of speculated about previously, and he will indeed be joining the staff. So we'll talk about all that here throughout the stream, and got a lot to get to, so I will try and catch up on some of y'all's comments when I can. But bear with me because it's funny. I was literally on here, I guess it was probably about 10:15 this morning, working on making a thumbnail to come on and do a live stream. I was planning on doing a live stream even before noon today about some of the news that came out earlier in the day, and had a bit of news to catch up on from the previous day that I didn't get a chance to talk about either, because we went ahead and recorded a podcast, which I hope you guys checked that out this morning when we released it, and or listened to it on any audio platform. And then we did the members only stream last night as well, so didn't get a chance to do a live stream on the main channel. So my plan today was to come with one early, and then if anything broke throughout the day, come with, as many as I needed throughout the day. But with the weather going on, there were other plans there. I'm on here making a thumbnail, and then all of a sudden the webpage stops loading. I'm like, what the heck? Look, and then the internet's kicked the bucket. So luckily, though, we were lucky enough we didn't lose power here. We just lost internet for most of the day from, about what it was, I guess about 10:30 until a little bit after 8, and then once it finally came back on, I was like, well, the positive side of it is at least it came back on today, and I can still do one tonight where I can catch up on everything. So I guess that is the good side of it, is now all the news throughout the day is kind of accumulated, and I can talk about everything here in this stream. So bear with me, got a lot to get to, but let's start with the big news of the transfers that committed to WVU today, because one of them, you guys know, man, I was super excited when I saw this come through, because you guys have heard me talk throughout these transfer portal updates since, the regular season ended for WVU, since we knew we were going to have a ton of transfers coming in with the coaching change, with everyone that moved out. And, I was talking about some of the guys on the top of my target list, the top of my transfer wish list, whatever you want to call it. And one of those at the very top up there has been, since the beginning, Cam Vaughn. Because you look at Cam Vaughn, here's a guy that was recruited as a quarterback, goes to Jack State. They redshirt him a year, teach him how to play the position of receiver. So here's a guy that's only been playing the position for, 2-3 years max, and he is already looking elite at the receiver position. As a redshirt freshman, led Jack State in receiving last year, over 800 yards. The next closest receiver was way further down there. He was by far and away their main target. So Cam Vaughn is someone that if West Virginia could have landed him, he's coming here to be wide receiver one, because he had plenty of suitors. We didn't know where exactly we stood, but I knew we still had a chance because he hadn't committed anywhere else, although he decided to kind of take some other visits after WVU. But early this morning, it comes through, guys. that indeed he has decided to commit to WVU, and we have coming on Cam Vaughn. If I can find the correct tab, I was going to share with you guys the announcement from Matt Zenitz, but struggling to find it here. Here it is. So here is the announcement. Matt Zenitz breaking this one for CBS/247. Jacksonville State wide receiver transfer Cam Vaughn is committed to WVU. Posted 804 yards and 5 touchdowns as a freshman under Rich Rod at Jack State. Now we'll reunite with him at WVU. And, of course, there's the picture, and I'm sure you saw him on the thumbnail. So can't state enough how massive of a pickup this is for West Virginia. We know we needed help at the wide receiver position. We got Cyrus Trawl, which shout out to whoever was in the comments helping me pronounce that last name correctly. I think I got it now. I think it's Trawl. So Cyrus Trawl comes on, who's an extremely good route runner. As I've talked about when we got his commitment, we have Man Singleton, who's got great speed there as well. Now we bring in Cam Vaughn, who can play on the outside. He has lined up in the slot some, but he's primarily going to be an outside guy, 6'2", 195 pounds. Good length there for an outside receiver. So now we're bringing in some guys to help on the outside, and we really are bringing in some pieces to help the offense. Of course, I know now the next question everyone's asking is, what about up front? What about up front? Because I agree, that's what we need next. We're thin on the offensive line, but hey, give it time. Much like a lot of people were impatient, waiting on these transfers to come in. Man, we're not getting anybody. Because we had 5 commits, and then today we bring in multiple throughout the past couple of days, and we have more than doubled our transfer, commitment list already. So Cam Vaughn is one, and I had to lead off with him because that is the really big one to me. He was up at the top of my target list, and West Virginia able to score him is a huge feat and a huge pickup for this staff and for this program. And like I said, I think he will be wide receiver 1 next year. And quite frankly, I think you've upgraded. Wide receivers kind of been an issue over the past 6 years of the Neil Brown era. You never had a receiver hit 1,000 yards. You never really had one that necessarily stood out to a huge level. And I would put Cam Vaughn up against pretty much every wide receiver 1 that we've had during the Neil Brown era. I think he's that good, and I think he's going to bring that much to the table, and extremely high ceiling as well, as he's only going to be a sophomore as he comes in here as a redshirt sophomore. So super excited about that one. And then there was another one. We did mention this one on our podcast episode we released early this morning, but we'll go ahead and mention it here as well because it is big to get this commitment, and it's another one with high upside, and that's Ashton Woods, the linebacker transfer from UNC, power forward transfer. I know people love to hear that, but he was super highly rated coming out of high school at the linebacker position, top 20 linebacker in the country, I believe, 4-star recruit, so super high upside on Ashton Woods and multiple years of eligibility. You like getting him in as a young guy as well coming over from UNC, so we also got him into the fold. And then since then, a couple more commits I have to talk about here as well. Then we'll pull up our transfer portal tracker. We'll add them to our transfer in list, and we'll talk about some other guys that are going to be coming in on visits that we need to watch out for, and some more offers that have gone out today. And then, of course, we will talk those coaching updates after that. But let's get in here and talk about another commit that came through today. And this is one, it's funny, Steven was talking about this one just the other day, being excited about picking him up. And that, of course, is Ethan Head, the kicker from Tulane. We know West Virginia needed a kicker. They needed a kicker and a long snapper, too. Ollie Straw's kind of the only special teamer that's returning. So Ethan Head definitely going to be a great kickoff specialist. Potentially could handle the field goals as well at Tulane. 18 of 21 on extra points, 4 of 5 of field goals, but is believed to have a pretty big leg. And you see there him announcing on social media, committed to WVU football there, and puts out his announcement of it as well. And if you want to follow him, you can there. It's at Ethan Head, and then you see the numbers there after 118330. But give him the follow on X there, just as I did on the CRW page there. But nonetheless, we get a kicker into the fold as well. I know not the most sexy pickup, right, is getting a special teams guy, but it's an important addition and one that I think we definitely needed. So glad to get Ethan Head on board. And then, we knew we needed tight ends, right? So when you need a tight end, why not go to the place that produces tight ends maybe better than anyone? You could argue that this is tight end university, and we're talking about the University of Iowa and West Virginia scores. Johnny Pascuzzi from the University of Iowa, and Johnny Pascuzzi is another guy that's coming to West Virginia with years of eligibility remaining, but I really like him because one thing that we know about Rich Rod, especially when you go back and you watch a little bit of Jack State last season, he's been using a lot of 1 and 2 tight end sets. Even empty sets, they would still a lot of times utilize a tight end, sometimes detached in kind of an H-back position or up against the line. And it also would, add that extra gap for them on their inside zone, on their read option. So Rich Rod's been using a lot of tight ends lately. And I think what you get with Johnny Pascuzzi is someone who, yeah, he can catch some balls if you need him to. I mean, he had a 40-yard reception this past season at Iowa, but what he really specializes in is the blocking game, particularly as a run blocker, 6'4", 240 pounds, and I think you'll see him on the field a lot, opening up holes for the West Virginia run game in the Rich Rodriguez offense. So I think it's a good pickup for that. We know West Virginia lost Traylon Davis. They lost Cole Taylor. They do have Greg Genross back, but he's a bit more of a pass-catching option. And then you have Jack Samarco, who we saw very promising as a freshman. He can be a really good blocker, but you still need to add some others to that, especially if you want to use multiple tight ends like it believes that Rich Rod will want to. So we've added Jacob Barrick, and now we've added Johnny Pascuzzi as well to go along with the aforementioned returnees for West Virginia. So those are the big pickups there today as far as commits are concerned. We've also got some offers that have went out, and we have some visits being scheduled. But before we get to that, let's go ahead and pull up our transfer portal tracker so we can add these new guys to our transfer in list, because I'm super excited about a lot of the names here. So let's do that here. Let's go ahead and go. We're going to add Cam Vaughn to the list because I'm super excited to type this name onto the transfer in list, guys. It was one I was starting to wonder if I would get the opportunity to do so. But you guys, like I said, one of my top prospects, and glad that we were able to bring him in. And then we can also take Ethan Head from the visitors list up to the commitment list here. And as you can see, I already have Ashton Woods on there because, like I said, when we did our podcast episode, we were able to update that commitment of Ashton Woods. And then we also lastly have Johnny Pascuzzi, who we can take from our visit list to our transfer in list as he has came into the fold for the Mountaineers. So you see, for a long time, it's just at these 5 names for a while there. And then all of a sudden, over the past 2-3 days, West Virginia has added 7 more names to that. Like I said, more than doubling their transfer in list here, the transfer commitments. And I like all of them that we have in the fold right now. And by no means is West Virginia done. They're still targeting a ton of people. I mean, more offers have gone out today. We'll talk about those momentarily. More visits have been scheduled. We'll talk about those as well. More people were on campus today, even in Morgantown. So a lot of transfers West Virginia is still after, and this list is going to continue to grow, and I'll continue to update it as it does. And some of the names you could maybe see potentially pop up on it, we will talk about here in just a second. But before we get to it, let's talk about the transfers out. We have a couple others that have selected their destination. Lucas Austin, surprise, surprise, also going to Virginia Tech and following Matt Moore, the third West Virginia offensive lineman, to do that. Second to do it since Matt Moore took the job. And then also recently we had Aiden Garnes announce that he will be playing at Arizona. So we will have to face Aiden Garnes as he transfers out of the program as he goes to Arizona. Had a couple people that have transferred within conference, now him being one and Day Farmer being the other as far as destinations for transfers out. But let's talk about targets here still remaining in the transfer portal for WVU. Let's first talk about some offers that went out today, and then let's talk about some more upcoming visitors, and I'll pull back up the upcoming visitors list and talk about some guys that were either on campus today, are going to be on campus in the near future, or have already been on campus. And I've also went through and cleared out some guys that were scheduled to come on visits but have committed elsewhere before making it to campus. So we'll update that momentarily. But in the meantime and in between time, West Virginia has sent out some other offers today as well. This one right here to Justin Harrington is a defensive back previously at the University of Washington there, as you see in his bio. West Virginia offering him, I believe he's a lengthy, I think I saw that he's 6'3", if I'm not mistaken. I'm not getting confused with another defensive back. West Virginia sent out so many offers lately, but I believe he's the one I'm thinking of. So got an offer out to a defensive back from Washington, Justin Harrington. That was came out today. And then we also have another offer out to a transfer linebacker. This one is coming from Alabama, and his name is Sterling Dixon, as he shared it on social media earlier, and then it was quote tweeted here by Jeff Cobb, who announces WVU has offered Alabama transfer linebacker Sterling Dixon, I guess, rather, instead of Dickinson, but Sterling Dixon from Alabama, linebacker, West Virginia, has offered. And then we also have offered a defensive end from Colorado, or Colorado State, actually, excuse me. Gabe Kirsch, 42 tackles, 10.5 TFLs, 6 sacks, and an interception. So really good numbers there. Those are pretty impressive. If we're offering the defensive end here from Colorado State, 2 years of eligibility remaining. Shout out to WVU Recruit fan page for providing the stats there. As Gabe Kirsch himself announced on social media today that he was offered a scholarship by WVU. So we have that. And then we also have some more visits that are upcoming. Let's get into talking about some of those now. And I'll share the visit list momentarily. But some that have been scheduled, guys. Right here we have another running back that could potentially come into the fold. West Virginia's kind of brought in another speed back in LJ Turner, who's actually similar build to Jaheim White. But it looks like West Virginia's targeting a power back as well. Look at the size here. 6'4" for a running back, which is kind of unheard of, and then 230 pounds, obviously great size in that aspect as well. Visited Louisville. UNC is in the mix as well, but he will be visiting West Virginia tomorrow and Wednesday, so it seems like a 2-day visit coming up here really in short order for Ty Edwards, so maybe we could hear some good news on him in the near future. But he's from Northern Iowa. They're FCS level, but extremely talented, ran for over 1,000 yards this past season. And don't let the size fool you. He can run a little bit and has decent speed to go along with that huge frame, 6'4", 230 pounds. But he'll be coming in on a visit to WVU. And then also this one right here is extremely big as well. If we're talking about guys high up on the wish list, this would be one that ranks way up there. And the fact that West Virginia is getting a visit with him speaks volumes, I think. But Nevada defensive back Michael Coach Jr. has 2 visits set according to the portal report. West Virginia on the 8th, which of course will be on Wednesday, and then Ole Miss on the 9th. And hey, fingers crossed, we'd love to get him to commit on the 8th and not make that visit on the 9th. But this defensive back right here is one of the very highest rated in the entire transfer portal. So the fact that West Virginia is one of the 2 visits that he has scheduled right now is huge for the Mountaineers, because this would be an absolute huge pickup for WVU. So there's a visit that's upcoming, and let's talk about some more of those upcoming visits, whether it's some guys that have already been in on campus, some guys that were in today, or some guys like those that we just mentioned that are coming in the future. Here is still what is a lengthy upcoming visitors list. Some of these guys up near the top have already been in, the Jordan Walkers, and he's believed to be announcing in the near future. CJ Doggett's already been in. Adam Tomczyk finally officially got his official offer, so probably a visit coming soon with him. Troy Stellato, that's the status that's kind of up in the air now, I guess, a little bit after West Virginia does get the commitment from Cam Vaughn. I don't think it necessarily rules out us potentially getting Troy Stellato as well, but maybe it lessens our chances. Maybe it makes, one of his other favorites a little bit higher on his list, which he has narrowed it down to 3 favorites. I'll share those momentarily. But if you could land Stellato and Cam Vaughn, I think you're in really good shape then to potentially have some really good outside receivers between those 2 and Jaden Bray, and then some of the young guys, of course, on campus as well. But between Stellato, Bray, and Cam Vaughn, I would be really happy about those 3 as outside receivers. So fingers crossed for Stellato. Still targeting Crew Walkley from BYU. Dallas Holmes from Lafayette. We'll see if West Virginia still elects to bring him in. I know he was the only visit scheduled for him was to WVU, so it seems like it's kind of up to WVU, but with getting the commitment from Johnny Pascuzzi, we'll see if they're going to bring in another tight end still yet. Then you have Mark Stampley, the defensive back from Georgia Southern. I think that'd be a good corner for West Virginia to potentially pick up as well. Rodney Bullard, the wide receiver from Valdosta State, we've talked about in the past. And recently we talked about linebacker Justice Finkley from Texas, who could potentially be a DN. He's just kind of an edge player, but really talented as well. This will be another good pickup. 1 year of eligibility remaining. Would be a good transfer to pick up. And we talked just now about Michael Coach Jr. from Nevada, going to be coming on the 8th. One of the highest rated corners in the entire transfer portal. Can't state that enough, how big that would be. West Virginia has had in on a visit, though, today. You saw some pictures going around on social media of these 2 guys from Jack State being in on a visit, which defensive back Derek Carter, I believe this is his first time on campus, if I'm not mistaken. But Fred Perry, I think, has already been here, or he had been in contact with WVU, one of the 2. And from what I had heard from, people that I know, wasn't really considering us as of, a week or so ago. So I guess some things changed, and West Virginia is back into the fold with Fred Perry, who has been on a visit to WVU, and that would be a good pickup there. That's an all-conference player there at Jack State to go along with some of the other all-conference guys that West Virginia's already brought in, including Cam Vaughn, who they brought in today. But watch out for Fred Perry. I would love to land him, especially after it looked like we were out of the mix, and now all of a sudden we're back in it. And, of course, Ty Edwards that we just talked about out of Northern Iowa, the running back, going to be coming in on a visit tomorrow and Wednesday, according to the report that we just shared moments ago. So that's what we have on upcoming visitors. Remember, we get these guys in on a visit, then we got a chance. They're on commitment watch, but there's always the possibility that they commit elsewhere before they make it to their visit, which a few guys indeed did do just that. That's why some names you'd seen on here in previous updates, you don't see on here any longer. Had to kind of clean this out after guys committed elsewhere, but still a long list of potential guys that could come on board here as we talk transfers. So that's pretty much all I've got as far as transfers are concerned. The last thing I did want to share was this from Troy Stellato. As I said, he has kind of named a final three, if you would, of Kentucky, West Virginia, and Michigan. And I liked that Nico Markiel over here doing a little recruiting says, bring him home, #hard edge. So, would be a good pickup for West Virginia. We'll see what happens with Clemson transfer receiver Troy Stellato as well. But that's what I had as far as transfer updates are concerned, guys. I do want to get into the coaching update, but I will catch up a little bit with you guys in chat before I do that. I'm going to have to take a swig of my coffee before we get there. But you guys that are in here live, I appreciate everyone that's hopped in here for this late night one. Like I said, finally got a chance to do it when the internet came back, and I appreciate you guys tuning in here. If you're watching live or on a playback, just be sure to hit the thumbs up button. Helps a ton with that algorithm. Helps us find more Mountaineer fans like yourself. And if you haven't yet, be sure to subscribe to the channel. We'll be covering the roster as it builds, these transfers as they come in, and of course, the continued news of the coaching staff as well. And hey, if you want to support us monthly, we can't ever appreciate that enough. And you get all kinds of bonus content, including, members only streams once a month. We just did one last night for the Almost Heaven level, and we really appreciate that support. Helps keep this mic recording and keep that camera rolling is what I always like to say, and we can never thank you guys enough for doing that, and we try and give back to you with extra content that you only get there as a channel member. And you may see some channel members there in the chat with the WVU helmets beside their name, and they get access to custom emojis and such as well, which is pretty sweet. But, like I said, if you can't do it that way, I understand that as well. But you can do a fast, easy, and free way of supporting us just by hitting the thumbs up button and subscribing to the video. But let me take a swig of my coffee, and then I will catch up with you guys a little bit in chat, and then we will do the coaching update here on this live stream here, January 6th edition on the Country Roads webcast. All right, much better, much better. Overworked Underpaid said the steam is rising. Indeed, it is. Let's go, Overworked Underpaid. Let's go. What's going on, W Mountaineer with Kenny? See you in there? I see some people saying, Huddy who to the pickup of Cam Vaughn. Yeah, I certainly think it's an upgrade, if I'm being honest there. I definitely think it's an upgrade. Cam Vaughn, super talented, like I said, was near the top of my list, my wish list of transfers. So very excited. And George Edwards shouts out one of my favorite players on the roster here as well. Cam Vaughn will be a stud, and Dom Collins and other speedsters will be a nice return to WV football. Couldn't agree more. Couldn't agree more. And excited to see Dom Collins get on the field this year and make some plays. Don Johnson, appreciate you always, Don, says, can't remember who said it, but when fans were fretting, this guy said, don't worry, we'll be better at every position next year than we were this year. I think it's, it's possible. They can, they're going to turn this roster over, and they definitely have experience doing that. They just brought in 60 players last season to Jack State, and I'm very impressed by what I'm seeing thus far via who we're targeting and who we're bringing in. I think a lot of these guys are better fits, and hopefully this staff proves to be a much better evaluator of talent than the previous staff was, because that was one of the areas where they struggled a bit. That's right, Nathan. Piss is hot as lava. Spot the ball. I like that. Channel member Tim Green says all he has to say is let's go Mountaineers, and we will do good in the future, guaranteed. Appreciate that. W Mountaineer with Kenny said, heard the Clemson guy came today. I know it was either yesterday or today that he was scheduled. I couldn't remember what day it was. I know there was a slew of visitors on campus today, so he may have been involved in that, but he definitely has been on campus, whether it was yesterday or today. Troy Stellato came to Morgantown. Justin Campbell says, great job, Jordan's first time since I've been this excited about a team coming together. I appreciate that a lot, Justin. Appreciate the kind words. And I'm really excited too, man, just because it's almost like it's almost what we went through on the basketball side, which I will try and preview tomorrow night's basketball game before we wrap up, guys. If we have too much time, if this doesn't get too lengthy, we'll try and do that as well. West Virginia hits the hardwood again tomorrow for a big game against Arizona in Morgantown, but I'm really excited too, man. I like the way that it's shaping up. I know we got to get some guys in the trenches, but that's going to come, and I do like the one that we've brought in already in Walter Youngbear, and I'm excited about some of the others that we're targeting, but I am too, man. I'm excited about this team coming together. Dylan Lester, any update from Sam Houston, I believe. He committed, where was it he committed elsewhere? Believe I saw, did he commit or, yeah, Auburn. Committed to Auburn. That's where it was. I knew I took him off the list for some reason. He committed to Auburn, and a couple others that were, going to come in on visits committed elsewhere before they had a chance to make it. But that's the name of the game. And I've said that in previous updates. Sometimes guys will go visits elsewhere, commit, and they'll never get to make their visit to Morgantown. Just like WVU hopes that happens in their case when guys have visits scheduled after them. That's just the name of the game. Blake Green says his top 5 portal commits right now: 1 Cam Vaughn, 2 Walter Youngbear, 3 Jordy Scruggs, 4 Cyrus Straw, 5 Jalen Henderson. I like that. I don't know who would be my top 5 right now. It would maybe be the same 5, but I might switch the order up a little bit. But honestly, I might bring LJ Turner into mine. I don't know who I would take out, but I'm pretty high on LJ Turner as well. Yeah, but that's there. I mean, there's a good problem to have when you don't know who your top 5 is going to be because you like all the commits that you've had thus far. Trey Edwards said CJ replacement. Hopefully we can pull him. Yeah, that would be nice, and that's what I've heard a lot of people reference. I think obviously with the weight being similar, 230 plus, but 6'4" is crazy because CJ's what, 6'2", so I mean you're talking 2-3 inches taller than CJ Donaldson was even. Great size for sure. Robbie Martin is supposed to come in on a visit. That's right, Kenny, and that's the other offensive lineman I was talking about that West Virginia is trying to work on getting in on a visit. I'd be really excited about as well because huge upside on that guy. We know he was very highly rated coming out of high school in the state and then went to NC State. So West Virginia's got a chance at him, and we need offensive linemen. Let's hope that we can get him. Let's see here. Nathan Scott, it's interesting that we haven't got a special teams coordinator. Actually, we do, Nathan. Pat Kirkland. Let me go ahead and pull that up. It just hasn't been officially announced yet, but I talked about this previously, him joining the staff, and we didn't really know exactly what his title would be, but if you pull up his social media page, he now has changed it to where he has the title, Special Teams Coordinator, and also it was mentioned in Ethan Head's commitment today that Pat Kirkland was the Special Teams Coordinator. So Pat Kirkland coming back to West Virginia. I believe he used to coach, was the University of Charleston, I think. So coming back, familiar with the state, coming back to West Virginia to be at WVU as the Special Teams Coordinator. He was at Jack State previously, so he'll be coming as well. We knew he was coming. We talked about that in a previous coaching staff update. Just didn't know exactly what the title was, but now we kind of do a little bit. James Wickley says he should be a member of the CRW channel soon. Hey, appreciate that, James. That's really cool, man. Appreciate that support. Brian Perry says, great work on updating. Appreciate that, Brian. Gary Rochford said the updates are great. Hey, I appreciate that, Gary. Those kind words mean a lot, guys. I'll try and keep them coming. I'm sorry I didn't get to do them sooner today, and the video is going to be a little bit lengthy because of having to catch up on so many. But, hey, at least the internet came back on before too late tonight, and we were still able to get this stream out and get all these updates out. But appreciate that. Hey, what's going on, Leo? Appreciate you hopping in, man. Sorry to hear that, Tim. Sorry to hear about the death in the family, man. But I am glad that you came in for that members-only stream. That was fun, man. First of what will be many, and they will be monthly throughout the season as well, for sure. So, let's see. George Edwards says he really wants Fred Davis also. Another cornerback from Jack State that's been on a visit. Really talented corner. I'd love to get him as well. Runaway beer truck size is right, G-Nan. And Trey Edwards, channel member, says definitely need to beef up the offensive line depth, a little shallow, need D-line as well. Yeah, need some help in the trenches. And then Leo Cole with a great question here. Heard we got Travis Trickett. And perfect right there, segue into talking about the coaching updates here on this January 6th stream, because we have 4 or 5 that have now been officially announced that we already knew reported, but we did get the new report today that Leo references there, and it was one that we talked about in a previous stream because we were all kind of speculating, who's going to get an OC title, because we were waiting on these official announcements to come out. Chad Scott's announced as running backs coach, no OC title. There was speculation about Jack Bicknell, which I would have been surprised because he doesn't really have any coordinator experience, and he doesn't get the OC title. So it's like, is anyone going to get the OC title? And I think we have our main suspect of who could potentially get that title now. Now, will he necessarily do that? That remains to be seen. But we do know that pretty much all the other spots in the staff are filled up, so he's either quarterbacks coach / offensive coordinator, or he's quarterbacks coach and some type of coordinator. But we also know Rhett Rod's been rumored to work with QB, so maybe Rhett Rod's going to be an analyst and assistant QB coach, kind of similar to Noel Devine's title that we'll talk about in a minute. But although we don't know the exact title yet, could it be OC? Maybe. Could it be QB coach? Maybe. But we do know that West Virginia is getting back a former staff member, and a Trickett will be on Rich Rod's staff. As Matt Zenit shared today on CBS Sports /247, Travis Trickett expected to be hired as part of Rich Rodriguez's staff at West Virginia. Set to be a return to Morgantown for the alum who worked from 03 to 06, and then, of course, most recently from 19 to 21. Most recently was the offensive coordinator at Coastal Carolina and USF. So big news here, multiple reasons. Number one, he was an excellent recruiter when he was here 19 to 21. And then also, you guys know that there's a player in the portal that remains uncommitted. And in a recent stream, we were talking about West Virginia maybe trying to get him back. They feel like they have a chance. I know that there's been heavy rumors that he's going to go to Kansas now, and that's Trey Lathan. But we now have the man that recruited Trey Lathan to Morgantown initially back on the staff in Travis Trickett. So whether he's able to get Trey Lathan back at the fold, whether that helps with that or not, whether Trey Lathan's too long gone and that's out of the issue or not, I think I can confirm a couple of things in regards to Travis Trickett coming back, and that is, number one, he's going to be involved in the offense somehow, whether he gets an OC title or a QB coach or whatever title he gets. He's an offensive coach, obviously. And then number two, he's going to really help out a lot in recruiting. And I think that with Travis Trickett and Noel Devine both on this staff, we're about to see recruiting in South Florida skyrocket for WVU. Once again, that Florida pipeline's coming back in a big, bad way. Travis Trickett was doing an awesome job of it when he was here from 19 to 21. And then, of course, Noel Devine, obviously, his record and history there in South Florida speaks for itself, and his ties there run deep. So I think that both those things are really going to help West Virginia in that area. So there's the reported new addition to the staff. So now we pretty much have the entire staff intact, besides any surprises that may pop up with these official announcements. And I'll go over the handful of other announcements that have now become official here momentarily. But what we know reported, not all of these are official yet, but what we know, of course, Rich Rod's the head man. Zach Alley's the assistant head coach / D coordinator and linebackers coach. Then on the offensive side, we're going to have Travis Trickett involved in some capacity and Rhett Rod involved in some capacity. Whether they split QB duties, whether Travis Trickett gets the OC title, we'll wait and see on that. But we know those guys are there. We know the running backs coach is Chad Scott. We know the wide receivers coach is Ryan Garrett. We know the inside receivers coach is Blaine Stewart. We know the tight ends coach is Michael Nicewander. We know the offensive line coach is Jack Bicknell Jr. And we flip over to the other side. We know the defensive line coach is William Green. We know the defensive backs coach is reportedly going to be Rod West. And the safeties coach is reportedly going to be Gabe Franklin. And then we also know that Jeff Castile is going to be coaching Bandits. More on that momentarily. And we know that Pat Kirkland is the special teams coordinator. So pretty much we have a lot of this staff now all but completed and just awaiting a few more official announcements, and we'll see what the official titles of some of these guys that haven't had those official announcements are just yet. So that's kind of where we stand staff-wise. But speaking of those official announcements, let's pull those up that we did get in the past couple of days. We did get a couple yesterday, and then I think 3 today. So let's go back to yesterday first, because we did get Jack Bicknell Jr.'s press release, offensive line coach, joining the staff here, coming out yesterday around 2 p.m. Rodriguez tabs Bicknell Jr. as offensive line coach. Rodriguez has announced that Jack Bicknell Jr. has been hired as the O-line coach for the Mountaineer football program. He rejoins Rodriguez as a member of his staff after the two worked together at Ole Miss in 2019. Bicknell has more than 35 years experience coaching offensive lines at the collegiate and NFL levels, and comes after serving as the offensive line coach at Wisconsin in 2023. And then we get Rich Rod's statement here. Jack comes from a family of coaches and brings years of experience at the collegiate and NFL levels. His knowledge and ability here to develop and build offensive lines makes him a great fit here. He and his family are a great addition to WVU, and I look forward to working with him again. I'm not going to read through all of the bio part of his tenure here. I'll scroll down here. I do like to credit, kind of where they went to school and all of that good stuff. 3-year letter winner as an offensive lineman. Bicknell played for his father Jack at Boston College from 81 to 85, where he was the center for 84 Heisman Trophy winning quarterback Doug Flutie. Comes from a family of coaches. His dad Jack was the head coach at Boston College before the Barcelona Dragons of the NFL Europe. His brother Bob is coach of the NFL Europe and at the collegiate level. He's born in North Plainfield, New Jersey, and he attended Orono High School. He and his wife Helen have 3 children, John, Caitlin, and Alice. So there is the official press release for the offensive line coach, Jack Bicknell. Got that yesterday. And then we also get a fan favorite coming back, and this is one I think a lot of people were excited about, of course, and that is Noel Devine coming back to West Virginia. And we get his official titles here, offensive analyst, as we expected, but also gets the assistant running backs coach title. This one came out at 11 yesterday. Devine returns to coach at his alma mater. Rich Rodriguez has announced that former Mountaineer standout Noel Devine will return to his alma mater as an offensive analyst and assistant running backs coach. Then we get Rodriguez's statement here. Noel knows how I run my program, and more importantly, he wants to give back to the place that has given him so much. He knows Mountaineer football and be a great asset on the offensive side of the ball. Of course, Devine was a 3-year starter at running back and became WVU's career all-purpose yardage leader at 5,761 yards. Ranked third on WVU's career rushing chart and 4th in Big East history. Of course, you go down here, graduated from WVU with a Bachelor of Arts degree in 2019, inducted to the WVU Sports Hall of Fame in 2021. Devine and his wife Candace have been together since high school, have 5 children, Desiree, Andre, Destiny, Noel Jr., and Noah. So we get Noel Devine as an offensive analyst and assistant running backs coach officially announced. And then today we get a handful, or 3 announcements to finish out that handful, I should say. One of them is, of course, one that comes as no surprise, and we've kind of known that he was here since the get-go. He was even in some of the initial videos when Rich Rodriguez came, and that, of course, Dusty Rutledge, being Rich Rod's chief of staff. He's been with Rich Rod pretty much Rich Rod's whole career, but he has a long history of coaching experience at the collegiate level. Rich Rod announced that Dusty Rutledge has been named the chief of staff of Mountaineer football program. At West Virginia, Rutledge will implement strategic planning and staffing for the football office, oversee areas of recruiting operations, scouting, and office administrative staff. He will also serve as the football's liaison to various units in the athletic department, including senior administration, marketing, digital media, developing communications, creative, and student-athlete enhancement. Additionally, Rutledge will direct the program, student employment program, provide budgetary discretion, and assist Rodriguez and staff in promoting the West Virginia football brand. Of course, been with Rich Rod at pretty much every stop, from Jack State to Ole Miss to Arizona to Michigan. Ties between Rich Rod and Rutledge go back more than 35 years, when Rutledge was the D-line coach and special teams coordinator under Rodriguez back at Glenville State in the mid-90s. He's originally from Rockford, Ohio, graduated from Fairmont State in 91, and coached the offensive line there from 88 to 93, when he was also a player during that time. So he was one of the last player coaches there in the 80s, going into the 90s. So Dusty Rutledge, of course, hired as the chief of staff officially. And then we get another familiar face coming back to Morgantown, and we were wanting to know what his title would be, because we knew, getting the band back together a little bit, as Jeff Castile back on Rich Rodriguez's staff, kind of just like it was back in 2007 when you got both those two back together, right? But this time he won't be defensive coordinator. He will be the Bandits coach. Now, the Bandits and this defensive scheme, I'm not 100% sure exactly what that will entail, but I am guessing that it's kind of more of a hybrid outside linebacker position maybe, because that's kind of what it was rumored Jeff Castile would work with. And I know in his defense, the Bandit, when he was here previously, was a name for a safety, but I don't think that is the case in the defense now. I think you have Bandit and Cheetah as the two specialized positions in Zach Alley's defense, if I'm not mistaken. But this came out today around 2 p.m. The official announcement of Rodriguez announcing Castile as Bandits coach. Rodriguez has announced that longtime defensive assistant coach and coordinator Jeff Castile has rejoined the Mountaineer coaching staff as the Bandits coach. And we get Rich Rod's statement here. Jeff has an outstanding resume of defensive success, including being a key member of our staff during one of the most successful periods in West Virginia history. I'm excited to once again have him on my coaching staff. His experience and leadership will be a valuable asset for our coaching staff and our players. Of course, Castile most recently served as the senior defensive analyst and director of high school relations at WVU from 2020 to 2023. Kind of been out of the game since then, but comes back to reunite with Rich Rod. Of course, Castile has 35 years of defensive coaching experience, including 27 as a coordinator. Go back down here, and we will read the tail end of the bio. Castile earned his bachelor's and master's degree from California University of Pennsylvania. Started his coaching career as a graduate assistant at his alma mater from 84 to 86. Before he was the defensive coordinator at Palmetto High School and a training camp assistant with the Baltimore Stallions of the Canadian Football League in 89. That's where his career started. Castile and his wife Rosemary have two children, Jake, who will join his father on the Mountaineer coaching staff as a defensive analyst. So there's your confirmation that Jake Castile will be on the coaching staff as an analyst as well. And Sarah, who is another graduate of West Virginia. So we got those announcements, and then we also got Cole Dial, who was one of the very first ones that we knew was coming over from Jack State and has been here kind of since the beginning, similar to Dusty Rutledge, but his official title, of course, assistant AD and football operations. So Dial named assistant athletic director for football operations coming out around 4 o'clock today. Rich Rodriguez has named Cole Dial as the assistant athletics director for football operations. Dial will direct and oversee the daily operations of the football office, manage budgets and expenditures, work with the administration on capital projects, plan and administer travel, and work with senior administration on all football issues, including policy, personnel, and scheduling. He will also provide administrative daily support to Rodriguez in the areas of practice planning, scheduling, fundraising, personal appearances, and community involvement. He will serve as the football liaison to all parts of the athletic department. Go down here, of course. He is a Marietta, Georgia native, started his career in athletics as a coach at Walton High School in Marietta from 2008 to 2010. He has a bachelor's degree in sports management from Reinhardt University in 2010. So there you have it. Some reported hires that we kind of already knew about, now official, but that's what I had there as far as the transfer portal update and the coaching staff update, and I suspect that we will probably get kind of the majority of those coaching staff updates or I guess the rest of the official press releases, I should say, maybe tomorrow, but probably over the next couple of days or so. So that's kind of where we are with that. Other than that, the only thing I want to do is I want to preview tomorrow's basketball game, but I'm going to catch up in the chat with you one more time before I do that. Okay. Let's see where we were at here. Blake Green says outside of Martin, who were some other linemen that we were talking. I know there's a guy from Jack State. Personally, I don't know of any right off the top of my head that we're definitely targeting. I'm sure we've sent some offers out, and they're slipping my mind. But they also have done a good job of keeping some guys under wraps, not even letting you know that they're targeting or they're coming in on visits. See, Jalen Henderson, who snuck in and committed and was in on a visit without any of us knowing. So can't rule that out for the potential of, the offensive line as well. But definitely I think that we're going to bring in some now, but I also think they're banking on the fact that there's going to be a good bit of offensive linemen hitting the portal after spring football as well. And they probably feel if they can bring in 2 or 3 now and 2 or 3 then you're in pretty good shape. So I know we're not targeting a ton. I know we're not bringing in a ton, but they also are, doing what they can while they can and kind of prioritizing things. So I definitely know and feel like they know that the offensive line is a big area of need, and they're going to continue to target that. Nathan said he's wondering if Travis is QB coach or if Rhett Rod is. Yeah, it's interesting. I'm kind of wondering if they may share it, similar to, You know how you look at Chad Scott is the main running backs coach, but then Noel Devine has an assistant running backs coach title. And now where there's no limit on staff, you know, you can have as big of a staff as you want to. And it looks like West Virginia's going to have a very big staff with probably 20 plus coaches on this staff. Only 10 of those guys can recruit. That's the only designation that you have to make. But you could very easily have Travis Trickett as QB coach / OC or QB coach / pass game coordinator and give someone else a run game coordinator title or something like that. And you could have Rhett Rod be offensive analyst / assistant QB coach. I definitely think that Rhett Rodriguez will work with quarterbacks, and I got to believe Travis Trickett probably will as well, just because there's really no other positions left on the offense that I can think of. You know, I mean, you got an inside receivers coach and an outside receivers coach. You got a tight ends coach. You got an offensive line coach. You got a running backs coach and an assistant running backs coach. So I think Travis Trickett has to work with quarterbacks as well, probably. But we'll see what happens with his official title. But I'm glad to have him back on board just based off his recruiting ability alone. Linda Skidmore says Nico, White, and Gallagher all Big 12 first team next year. Hey, I like it. I like it. They all got a chance to have big years in this Rich Rod offense for sure. I saw that. The Jack State backup quarterback went to Marshall, Zion Turner. Funny enough, because I played with Jack State when I first got the College Football 25 game. When I started my coaching career, I wanted to go to a one-star school and start off there and kind of work my way up the coaching ranks. And so I went to Jack State. So it's funny, a lot of the Jack State players, I know them from that. Zion Turner was a quarterback I used a lot on that game before they did the roster update and upped Tyler Huff's ratings, who, of course, ended up being the starter there at Jack State. But I saw that. Kind of not surprised because, of course, his previous quarterbacks coach and OC is there at Marshall now as Rod Smith went there, but Zion Turner goes to Marshall, could be the starter next year there at Marshall. We'll see what happens. Tim Green, channel member, says he's so glad that we made up with Noel Devine. Glad he's coming back to Morgantown. I think it's a good thing and it's nostalgic for players to come back and talk to new recruits. Yeah, 100%. Can't rule that out either, how special that is and how important that is. And I almost would be surprised if Noel Devine's not one of the coaches that's designated to be able to recruit, because I think having him out on the recruiting trail could pay dividends. People probably know him, and definitely people in the Florida area know him. Trey Edwards says, might as well put Andre Devine on the commitment watch list, LOL. Yeah, I know. Definitely that's the move everyone's expecting now with Noel, but he hasn't hit the portal yet, surprisingly enough. So maybe what I'm guessing is that he's probably waiting until spring ball, seeing kind of maybe what his status is at Jack State, and then maybe he'll decide after that if he's going to hit the portal. And if he does, I would be surprised if he didn't come to WVU, but it's one to keep an eye on. It's one to keep an eye on for sure. Hey, Trey, I hope so, man. Trey Edwards, channel member, said someone said that Chris Henry Jr. is secretly going to decommit from OSU and come to WVU. Don't know if it's true or not, but it would be huge. Yeah, let's hope so. I know West Virginia's working hard on that one. It's going to be hard to steal him away from Ohio State, but West Virginia's working hard for sure. Hey, Nathan Scott, appreciate that, man. He says, let's go, guys. Like, share, and subscribe. Yeah, please. Por favor, hit the thumbs up button. I know it's stupid, but if you hit that little like button, it really helps a ton. Helps the channel a ton, helps the video a ton, which helps all those things. And if you haven't yet, just hit the subscribe button. It doesn't cost you anything. You get these videos directly to your feed. You get notified when I go live. And hey, all it's going to do is keep you up to date more about the happenings within the WVU football program, which who doesn't want that? So I would really appreciate that, and I appreciate you shouting that out, Nathan. Exactly, Trey. That's how I'm feeling about it, because I know that that's the one thing that people are worried about right now. Man, we're not going after any O-linemen, and I get it because we do need them, but we have plenty of time to bring in transfers, and they're going to bring in a lot of transfers, so they will fill that need for sure. So, okay, Golf says, I've got a huge raging staff. Hashtag hard edge. Hey, that's right. That's right. Hey, the piss is hot tonight. The piss is hot tonight. But that's what I had as far as transfers and coaching staff update. I do want to talk a little bit of WVU basketball here at the tail end, because I do have the game coming up tomorrow. I want to get a little brief preview of that and try and throw my prediction out there, which my prediction past couple games hasn't been exactly correct, which I'm perfectly fine with. But let's pull up some stuff here about WVU basketball. There was also another thing that I wanted to pull up here just because it's pretty big. It's been close to 2 years, I think, now, since this has happened. At least it's been a couple of seasons. But finally, West Virginia, the men's basketball team, has cracked into the top 25, guys. As you see here, the graphic they put out on social media, 21st in the AP poll, 23rd in the coaches poll. Now, is it too low in my opinion? Yeah, probably should be ranked a little bit higher with the resume that we have. Probably should be close to the top 15, especially when you look at Kansas, still ranked 11th. But you know how that goes when the polls favor the Blue Bloods. But hey, just keep winning. It'll take care of itself. We'll climb up there and we'll get the respect eventually. And you got a really tough game coming up now at home against a team that's going to be hungry to beat you in the Arizona Wildcats, because obviously West Virginia taking them down at the tournament there in the Bahamas. So they're going to come into Morgantown hungry. They're playing a bit better now than they were then. They've kind of changed some things up in the way they're playing, Coach DeVries has stated, and they're playing a good brand of basketball right now. So West Virginia will come in and take them on tomorrow at 7 o'clock p.m., and it is on ESPN+. Unfortunately, a lot of the basketball games this season seem to be on ESPN+. But Arizona will come into Morgantown. They're 8-5 on the season, 2-0 in conference. West Virginia 11-2 on the season, 2-0 in the conference as well. So two teams right here looking to remain undefeated in Big 12 play early on. West Virginia, as we said, they're ranked 21st. Look at the game cast here from ESPN. Currently, looks like Arizona is favored by 2.5 according to ESPN Bet, and the over/under is 144.5 right now as well. Matchup predictor ESPN FPI giving Arizona a 63% chance to win, whereas West Virginia is at 37. Team leaders, Caleb Love, of course, leads Arizona in points, the former UNC Tar Heel, 16 a game. Javon Small, 19.5 points per game to lead West Virginia. Leading rebounds, it's Awaka for Arizona with 7. Hansberry for WVU with 6. Assists, you got Javon Small, nearly 5 a game, and Bradley for Arizona with nearly 4 a game. The two teams in comparison, Arizona is averaging 85 points per game, so they're doing, good job scoring the basketball, probably pushing the tempo a little bit. West Virginia averaging 76 points per game. So I think in this one, it'll probably benefit West Virginia to kind of play a similar style to what they did against Kansas. You don't really want this to get into a fast-paced, up and down the floor game with what West Virginia is dealing with now, being a little bit shorthanded. Arizona's probably got a bit deeper bench, so I think West Virginia will probably slow things down much the way they did against Kansas, which isn't necessarily the way Darren DeVries likes to play. West Virginia likes fast break points. Like that's kind of the Darren DeVries style if they could have his druthers, but also that just shows how good of a coach he is, that he's willing to play whatever style that it takes to win based on the roster that he has right now. And I would suspect it to be kind of a bit slower paced as it was in the game against Kansas, where if West Virginia can control that and keep this game, in the 60s or 70s, I like their chances better than if this game gets into, the 80s or close to the 90-point range. That would probably favor Arizona a little bit more. West Virginia's only given up 62.5 points per game. They've done a phenomenal job on the defensive end most of the season. Arizona giving up 69 points. They're shooting the basketball really well. They're nearly 49% from the field goal. West Virginia 44. Rebounds, 37 a game for West Virginia, nearly 42 a game for Arizona. West Virginia going to have to do a good job hitting that glass again. 17 assists a game for the Wildcats, 15 for the Mountaineers. West Virginia continues to impress with how they're blocking shots. 6 blocks per game, 4 blocks per game for Arizona. Both teams nearly 8 steals per game. And both teams coming in on this one on win streaks. West Virginia has won 7 in a row right now, whereas Arizona's on a 4-game win streak. Currently, and you see the recent results there. Arizona beating Central Michigan, TCU, and Cincinnati. To beat Cincinnati by 5, and it's a pretty good Cincinnati team this year has proven to be thus far. Of course, West Virginia on the 7-game win streak, most recently beating Oklahoma State and Kansas. So that's kind of the team matchup. Let's look at the individuals on kind of each team. Some stats for both these programs. Obviously, Arizona, like I mentioned, Caleb Love is going to stand out there. I'm surprised he's only shooting 31% from 3. Thought that would be a little bit higher, but he's going to be able to score the basketball, and I suspect that's probably who you'll see Buck Harris guarding for most of the night is Caleb Love, trying to stymie him. You're not going to shut him down, but you got to try and contain him a little bit. And, having watched a lot of UNC basketball, as you guys know that I do, I can tell you Caleb Love, if you do get into his head, if you do, get him frustrated, that can really affect his game. So hopefully Buck Harris is able to do that. You got Bradley, the point guard there, nearly 12 points per game, nearly 4 steals per game, and nearly 4 assists per game and over 2 steals per game. He's playing really well. Trey Townsend, who I'm sure we all remember from that great run that Oakland had in the NCAA tournament with Jack Golke as the guard, hitting all the impressive three-point shots, and then Trey Townsend was the man down low getting it done. He, of course, was able to transfer to Arizona since then and has been a pretty impactful player there. You see double-digit scorer, and West Virginia's going to have to do a good job defending him in the paint. And then you got to watch Del Orso when he comes in. He's a shooter, 42% from the three-point range, and, of course, Arizona with a slew of different big men. They do have a height advantage on West Virginia, but West Virginia was able to exploit that, last game and kind of draw some of those guys out and work them on the pick and roll, as West Virginia has done when they've been outmaneuvered by teams that are taller than them this season, and they'll have to do that yet again in this one. Now let's take a look at our Mountaineers here, the stats on the season for some individual players. Obviously, Javon Small, one of the big ones, which I want to pull up something about him momentarily as well. Because we talk about Javon Small, we're talking about someone that's playing not only the best basketball in the Big 12, but some of the best basketball in the entire country, quite frankly, with how good Javon Small is playing right now. And he's being recognized for his play, and I'll show a graphic to showcase that here momentarily after we get through talking about some of the numbers, and I'll show my prediction for this game as well. But Javon Small, nearly 20 points per game, one of the highest in the Big 12 and up in near the tops of the country as well. But he's also grabbing 5.5 rebounds per game. The past 2 games, he's really stepped up, had double-digit rebounds in back-to-back games. He's averaging 5 assists per game. He's averaging 2 steals per game. He's shooting 88% from the free throw line, 44% from the field, and 35% from three-point range. And Javon Small, you just can't say enough about his game, man. Even if he's not scoring, he's getting it done in some way, some form or fashion. His basketball IQ is so high, and he's one reason this team has performed so well this season. Tucker DeVries remains out. I don't suspect him to be back for this game, and quite frankly, I think at this point I'd be more surprised if he came back than if he took the medical red shirt. I think all signs right now kind of point to Tucker taking that medical red shirt and maybe coming back to WVU next season. We'll see what happens, though. But we do know Monty Hansberry's back in the fold. They eased him into it last game. We'll see how much he plays in this game, and that's big as he has been one of your double-digit scorers on the season, 10 points per game, 6 rebounds per game. So good to get him back in, and hopefully he'll be able to play a few more minutes in this one. Jonathan Powell, a true freshman that stepped up big this season, 9 points per game, had a huge game last game. He's shooting nearly 40% from three-point range, and he can really let it fly there, and we're going to need him to continue to score for us. Toby Oconee is kind of that guy that, at the end of every game, he might not be at the top of your stat sheet, but he's the guy that does the little things. I've compared him to a bit to, a Gabe Osaboyan in the past. Just kind of that role on the team, I think. He can hit some big shots when you need him to. He can grab some big boards when you need him to. He's great on the defensive end. So you got to like Toby Oconee's game. And I think that since the injuries occurred, maybe no player stepped up more than Ed Andre. He's been counted upon, of course, to play a ton when Hansberry was out. Even last game when Hansberry eased into it, he outpaced him in minutes, and yet again with another excellent performance. And I think he's outperformed all expectations coming in here from Fresno State, and I really love Ed Andre. And the one thing that I love is you look, 2.3 blocks per game, and he's going to get at least 1 or 2 per game, it seems. And a lot of time it's like a guy looks like he has a clear path for a layup or a dunk, then all of a sudden you just see Ed Andre pop into the screen out of nowhere and swat that thing into the second row. And I've loved watching him do that. It's been Sagaba Konate-esque at times, and not to mention the impact he's made on the offensive end, which I did not expect to see, but he's been doing a great job there in the past couple of games as well. And then, of course, Buck Harris, the defensive superstar for the Mountaineers, and he's going to continue to be that specialist, but got to shout him out. Finally getting the lid off that rim and hitting a couple threes last game. That's big. And then some of your other bench players that you'll see, Joseph Yesufu, who's hit a couple big threes in recent games. KJ Tenner, we're going to keep an eye on because he was banged up a little bit in the previous game, and you hate to hear the injury bug for West Virginia right now, a team that seems to be getting hit by it when they don't need to be. But he's your backup point guard, and West Virginia's going to need him to spell Javon Small at times. So keep an eye out on him. Let's see if he'll be able to go and how much he'll be able to go against Arizona. But another true freshman that's getting minutes. Then you have Jake Auer and Harris Elezevich, who will play sparingly at times throughout the season. But that's where West Virginia stands statistically. But in this game against Arizona, I think it's an interesting matchup. We'll see how it pans out. But I'm going to put my faith in WVU right now. They're just playing so good. They just got into the rankings. And would it be, a typical WVU thing to do, to hop into the rankings and then lose to an unranked team in the next game? Yeah, unfortunately. But I think West Virginia's rolling right now, and I think they're playing in the Coliseum. We heard that thing get absolutely cranked up to another notch last game against Oklahoma State, and I think that's going to happen again against Arizona, and this team seems to really feed off of that energy from the crowd, and they also know kind of how to manufacture that in some ways, if you will. And I think that despite the fact West Virginia's been a little bit banged up, we're still going to be without Tucker DeVries. I don't know if Jaden Stone's going to make his debut in this game. I believe he's close to doing that. But I do think we're going to get Amani Hansberry back, and this is a perfect game for that to happen with some of the Arizona big men. I think Buck Harris is going to do a good job of stymieing and frustrating Caleb Love. Now, the X factor here is Arizona is going to come into this one looking to have the revenge factor, right? They're looking to revenge, what they probably felt like was a bad loss that they didn't see coming in the Bahamas. But West Virginia's proven that they can play with anyone. So I don't think that is going to be as big of a factor in the game as it potentially is. Those extenuating factors, those outside factors like revenge and stuff, I think that only affects you for, the first few minutes of the game, because that's an adrenaline and motivation thing. Once you get in there and the game gets rolling, all that goes to the side. So I think that West Virginia has enough with the pieces they still have remaining on the roster to be able to win this game. We'll see how they perform against Arizona without Tucker DeVries. We're going to see how much of a difference that makes. That will be one aspect to watch in this game. But call me crazy, I still like West Virginia to pull out this win, get their 8th straight win. I know I picked us to lose to Kansas, and they surprised me there. I picked us to beat Oklahoma State, and it'd be a little bit close. Shout out to Steven. He knew it was going to be a blowout. He called it, and I'm glad he called that. But I'm going to call West Virginia a win here. I think they're going to beat Arizona. I think it's going to be close, but I think West Virginia's going to have to slow down the pace of play. I think if they can keep this thing in the 70s, maybe even 60s, it's going to look good for West Virginia. But West Virginia's going to do whatever it takes to win, whatever type of game it is. West Virginia, I think, will stay in it. But as far as a score, I'm going to go, let's say it's 76-71. West Virginia beats Arizona. So that's what I'm going to go with in this one. I'm going to go with a West Virginia win. I know Arizona's hungry, but Javon Small is playing so good right now, and he feels like just an extension of Darren DeVries on the floor, like you want your point guard to be. And I think he's playing some really good basketball, that he's going to outplay Caleb Love. He's going to outplay the Arizona guards. And I think Hansberry being back and probably playing a few more minutes will help. And let's hope Jaden Stone gets into the game as well, and some of those other guys that have stepped up scoring for you can do so when they need to and need them to hit those big shots. And West Virginia has plenty of guys that can do that, and I think they will. And we'll win West Virginia with the win over Arizona. So that's my prediction. And we'll get ready to wrap up here soon, guys. I'll catch up on some more comments before we do. But I did want to share this because it's big. We've talked about Javon Small being considered a Conference Player of the Year and maybe a National Player of the Year candidate, and he was honored nationally after his performance this past week. As you see, 18.5 points per game, 11 rebounds per game, and 5 assists in the 2 wins. And he was awarded the Jersey Mike's Naismith Trophy Player of the Week, so the National Player of the Week award, if you will, awarded to Javon Small, who's playing some of the best basketball in all of college basketball right now. So that's what I had, guys, as far as transfer portal update, coaching staff update, and wanted to preview tomorrow's basketball game a little bit there and provide my prediction. But I'll catch up on some comments here, and then we will wrap up this one, guys. Had a lot to talk about. Sorry for the length, but hey, it's all good. It's all good. Appreciate you guys sticking it out with me, and let me catch up on some of y'all's comments before we wrap up. Let's see here. Nathan Scott asking, how do I become a channel member? Should be a join button if you exit out of chat near the video description. But I can post, I think I saw, was it Trey? Yeah, Trey said post the link in here. Let me go get the link. I can post the join link here in the chat for you if you weren't able to find it. Because I know some devices, if you're on, for some reason, it won't show the join button. Don't know why. But if you're having that issue, I will go ahead and drop the link in the chat for you. And I really appreciate you asking about it as well. And it helps support me, helps keep the channel going. But also, you're going to get all kinds of bonus content. The link's in the chat there if you weren't able to find the join button. Including, throughout the season, you're going to get film reviews. You're going to get player grades. You're going to get snap counts. You're going to get depth chart projections, injury reports as a channel member. And you're also going to get game rewatch commentaries throughout the off seasons. We'll be going back and watching Jack State film of Rich Rod's offense and Zach Alley's defense there and at Oklahoma this off season. And of course, once a month, if you're at the almost 7 level, you get the member hangouts, which we did the first one of last night, and that was a lot of fun. I appreciate you asking that, Nathan. Let's see here. Where were we at in chat? See if I can find my spot back, and I'll catch up at here, and then we will wrap up before too much longer. Guys, I want to keep you guys too late. I know some people like me probably have to work in the morning as well, but let's see here. If I can find my spot. Oh, okay, here we are. Dime Drawer 4 says, how do you think Dom Collins will fit in a Rich Rod offense? I think he'll fit phenomenally, because to me, you look at Dom Collins and then you look at guys that played in Rich Rod's offense with kind of similar builds. You look at Jock Sanders, you look at Darius Renaud, you could go on that list and continue, and Dom Collins, I think, could play that type of role. Hopefully, the coaches realize that and give him the opportunities that he deserves, but his speed is lethal. And you get the ball in his hands in a Rich Rod offense, whether it be target him downfield, whether it be a bubble screen, whether it be the reverse, whatever you want to do. There's a lot of ways that Dom Collins can fit in this Rich Rod offense and fit in it well, I think. And I appreciate the question, Dime Drawer 4. And you guys know, big proponents and big Dom Collins fans here on the CRW. Oh, Hosh, channel member here, says, the excitement around the program is amazing right now. So glad Rod is back. As am I. As am I. Trey Edwards says, oh, he's the next Tavon Austin. He's great. I'm guessing in reference to Dom Collins. Love that. Hey, there it is. Nathan Scott got it to work there, and he's become a channel member. Appreciate that a lot, Nathan. Means a lot, and you're going to enjoy the extra content, I think, as well. Linda Skidmore says, Harris is a dog on D. If he scores any points, that's just gravy. Exactly, Linda. He's lockdown defender, going to stymie the opponent's best player every night. So if you get any points from him, that's just the cherry on top. Dime Drawer 4 said, notice Arizona shoots well from the field, 48%. Need to play D for 40 minutes. Yeah, it's going to be a big game where our defense is going to be important. We're going to have to try and limit them, because I don't know if we've got the horses right now. You know, the first time we played them, we had Tucker. I don't know if we can go, back and forth with them if it turns into, a track meet. That's not the style of game that we want. So for sure, defense is going to be big. It's Not Okay Golf said, by the way, Brody Hoarder's coach has a birthday today. We'll be the only fan base showing love on Twitter if we go do that. That is if we still want Brody. Oh, we definitely still want Brody. And speaking of that, I can share this as well in regards to that, because West Virginia definitely appears to still want Brody, because on social media today, we saw, of course, he did decommit. We know he was a really high-rated quarterback commit for WVU, really high-rated quarterback in the 2026 class. He set his commitment date for July 4th. West Virginia believed to still be involved, but pretty much every program in the nation is involved. As on Rivals, he's rated as a top 10 quarterback in the country and a 4-star recruit. But today, he did post this on social media, so definitely, Mountaineer Nation, go show love, because West Virginia is still involved. You see a little FaceTime there today between Brody McWhorter and Rich Rod. So Rich Rod's still a fan of Brody McWhorter and going after him as well, it appears, in that 2026 class. Really high-attended quarterback. So appreciate you mentioning that. It's Not Okay Golf. Maybe I want to share that. Mountaineer with Kenny says, Javon Small, Big 12 Player of the Year in my book. Very well could be at this point, for sure. This is also National Player of the Year in his book. Got a chance at that right now as well if things keep going the way that they are. Yeah, Dime Drawer 4 with a good point. I'd fade if they ever got a WVU Player of the Year. Indeed. I mean, think back to all the players that have been robbed. You can go Stedman Bailey on the football side of the Blitnikoff. That's just, tip of the iceberg. Of course, Kevin Jones still deserves that Big East Player of the Year. He got robbed by Jay Crowder for, just because it was our last year in the conference. Definitely. I'd be surprised too, but hey, keep playing the way we're playing. I don't know if they can deny it. And if they do, we'll just bitch about getting robbed again like we have on those other two. That's okay. Cameron Moyer, appreciate you joining and becoming a channel member as well. That means a lot, and I think you're really going to enjoy the bonus content that you get. If you go to the channel, you can go to the playlists now. You can go to the film review playlist, the player grades playlist, the snap counts playlist. game rewatch playlist. You can even rewatch the Almost Heaven member hangout from last night, and you can, of course, participate in the one in February. So all kinds of extra bonus content you'll have access to on the channel, and I hope you guys enjoy it and really appreciate that. Cameron, means a lot. Got some others sharing their predictions in here as well. Dime Drawer 4 says WVU 70, Arizona 67. Nathan Scott says WVU 78, 272 over Arizona. I like that. Shooting well at the free throw line, indeed a must for sure. Linda Skidmore with a great point. Arizona players will forget revenge once they feel 20 degrees. That's true. It is a crazy time right now with the weather going on. And she's got the blowout win. I like the confidence. She says WVU 73, Arizona 59. Hopefully it turns out that way, guys. I'll probably go live again tomorrow, either before or after the game. Depending on what news comes out, I may try and get a live out before. And if more comes out, I'll do one after, maybe do a little recap of the game or not. But I'm sure you guys will see me again tomorrow, probably. But I appreciate everybody that tuned in and chimed in here tonight. Like I said, before you head out, whether you're watching this live or in a playback, just be sure to hit that thumbs up button. Helps us a ton. And subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. If you didn't get a chance to chat live, throw your thoughts in the comments on anything we've talked about, whether it be the coaching news, the transfers that have committed, the transfers that are coming in on visits, or any WVU basketball stuff, whatever you got. I always appreciate those interactions here on the CRW. I see WVU Mountain there with Kenny saying WVU 68, Arizona 50. I like it. I like it. Chad Step said, I just joined. Is this a paywall site? No, not necessarily. We have all these updates here are free on the channel if you hit the subscribe button. I'll always bring the transfer portal updates, coaching staff updates free. Plenty of free content here on the main channel. There is a paid option if you become a channel member, but you just get bonus content with that. You still get plenty of these updates here, the one that you're watching. Free to you, Chad, here. If you hit the subscribe button, you get this right into your feed, and I'll continue to bring these updates on the roster, on the coaching staff, transfers, and podcast episodes and such through the season. Appreciate you joining in, Chad. Really do. Just like appreciate everybody that tuned in and chimed in tonight. Tim Green says, let's go Mountaineers. Can't wait till next football season, and can't wait to see how many games this basketball team wins this year, as they're well on their way, continuing to climb to hopefully 20-plus wins. We'll see what happens. Tomorrow would be a good place to get 12 wins, already 11 on the season. So would like to have that happen, but definitely really appreciate everybody that tuned into this one. And I will be back most likely to chat with you guys again tomorrow. And hopefully we'll have some more news on the transfer front. I'm expecting some more coaching hires to become official. And of course, we'll maybe have a basketball game to recap as well. Hopefully it's a West Virginia win, but hope you guys enjoyed this one. Transfer talk, coaching staff, etc. And I'm looking forward to chatting with you guys again in the near future. As always, I'm Jordan Cruz. And until next time, let's go Mountaineers.